Hello, welcome to the channel. Today I'm sharing my take on the IAM Roadsmart Masters qualification. What it is, what it isn't, and whether it's worth it. Join me as I ride some stunning roads through Derbyshire and Staffordshire and give my honest thoughts along the way. As always, if you've got any experiences or opinions of your own, please drop them into the comments. And if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. It really does help the channel. So, let's get started.
So many people cut corners. So, not sure which part of the video this is going to be, so welcome to the channel. I wrote a bit of an article for the IAM for my local group, and that was published, I don't know when, about July, maybe August last year, and had a lot of positive comment from it. Comments that I had were very much saying that, well, A, they found it useful, but secondly, there's not many resources out there for what I wrote about, which was the Masters, the IAM Masters qualification, specifically on motorcycles I wrote about. There are differences in the car, obviously, got four wheels for one. But I wrote it for motorcycles, and it was received positively, as I said. So, why did I write it? I wrote it because I had a conversation with someone after they'd watched one of my videos on just me going out trading for Masters, and they said how useful it was, but also how very few resources there are out there actually explaining what the Masters is all about. So I thought, well, I'll share what the Masters was for me, and I sort of wrote an article and got my wife to proofread it and sort of change things around, not the technical content but the paragraphing and punctuation and a few spelling things. Just kept saying, what's this IPSCA you keep talking about, actually? So anyway, I wrote this little article. It was received very well, and I then thought, well, I'll share it with other IAM interested parties. So I put it onto the IAM Facebook group. It's of the name IAM, but it's not sort of run by, or I wouldn't say supported, because there are members of the IAM on it, but it's not an IAM Facebook group. It's set up by IAM members who want to develop that conversation, and generally it's a good conversation. So anyway, I thought I would put something on there. There had been discussion in the past about the Masters, and there's a variance in opinion on what it is, first of all, and how useful it is. So I thought what I would do is explain from my point of view what it is for me and what it meant for me. Right, so just a bit of a potted history of me. I came back to riding in 2019, did my CB2 and direct access. I'd ridden bikes in the 80s and early 90s, just 50cc when I was 16 and 83, and then a 125, and I didn't own any other bike other than that. And when my brother eventually blew it up on the way to work, I didn't replace the bike or repair it or replace it. Then moved to London and wasn't really that interested in riding a bike in the smoke with a young family and things. So that's really why it was 2019 when I came back to it. So when I came back to it, I had to do some training, and I did the CB2 and direct access, and did all that over about a 4-week period just to get back in the saddle, and then got a little F800 BMW, which was an ST, which was a fun little bike to have as a first bike, and taught me a lot. Very glad that I owned that bike. But to be honest, my backside wasn't. It was after half an hour. It was not good. So, a month after passing my test, I got knocked off the bike, and it was a situation where it wasn't my fault at all. Everyone says that, don't they? But the driver, she accepted complete responsibility, as she should, and the police who were there agreed, and the ambulance who took me away, they were bikers as well, and they agreed. So everyone really agreed it wasn't my fault. Let's just have a look, see if it's clear. But I realised whilst the collision technically wasn't my fault, I could have done something about it. So I signed up for advanced riding and eventually got into IAM, and in the June 2020 did my IAM test. It was July 2020 I did my IAM test. So I've been on the road for just a year. I had one reasonably bad accident at the beginning of that year. But had thought that I had, got a handle for riding. Knew what I needed to do, knew how I needed to do it, and I was quite confident. And anyway, went to my first session, orientation session, with my mentor, Woody, or my observer, and he said that I was a good rider, but and went on to explain all the different things that I could think about and do to improve my riding. Now at that point, my advanced rider's course book had not arrived, so I didn't have that to read. But the day before, I think, I went out with IAM, my copy of Roadcraft came, which I'd ordered separately. You don't get a copy of Roadcraft For the Advanced you do for the Masters, but you don't for the Advanced. And I'd had a little look, so I had an idea about positioning, etc., although I hadn't ridden with that in mind. So I rode completely as I would normally ride. And Ricky gave me a bit of a demonstration and it just blew my socks off. I thought, how can you ride that bike in that way? And he showed me and talked through things, and within a few sessions and myself a couple of thousand miles practicing, I was at that level and actually took the test and, as I say, passed it in July 2020. I was also very proud actually to get first, and it was a glowing report, so I was very happy with that. So I then started thinking about Masters. And when I went on YouTube to look at it, there was, well, pretty much nothing there. And there still isn't very much there at all. 3, 2, 1, and your overtake. I know there's lots of signs, but I'm going to come back in well before any of the hazards, and I'm now in a better position to see those hazards and control them. So I was doing some research on Masters. There wasn't much out there. Long and short of it, I did sign up in July 2023 in order to do the Masters course. And it took me a year of riding and practicing, well, 11 months of riding and practicing to get to a standard where I thought, and my mentor thought, that I had the tools and the knowledge to, and dare I say it, the skill to ride at a Masters level and take the test. So I did. I took the test, I think it's 5th of June. 5th of June 2024. Let's just turn in here. In particular, I like stopping here to blow the hill. Anyway, took the test and I achieved a distinction and ones in each category. So I, again, was very proud to achieve that, and it was a product of very, very hard work, I must say. I changed my riding style. Changed what I did, how I did it, what I thought, and how I thought about it. I went back and revisited what I knew to be true and what I kind of just took for granted and assumed was true. So, for example, well, not the best place to talk about bends and overtaking. Let's talk about reasonably busy roadscapes like this. We've got junctions coming off, we've got cars, we've got people walking in the middle of the road, and all sorts of things happening. As an advanced rider, I thought I had all the skills needed to tackle those situations. Little did I know, there's quite a few more tools you can put in your kit bag. A little bit damp around here, and it is flashing at 1 degree, so whilst that was a 60 national speed limit, why push it on that corner if I don't need to? So this kind of road, this is a 50 mile an hour road. I'm fairly confident in my speedometer based on the work I've done with people, and riding I've done with people, that my speedometer is fairly accurate, but I think it just records maybe a mile an hour too slow. I mean too fast. It said I'm doing 30, whereas I'm doing 39. I think because when I'm out with people who are observing me, that was their comment, happened a number of times. I need to stick to script, don't I, really? say that if you want to be an examiner, you do have to have the Masters. The difference between the Masters and an advanced qualification is something that is discussed quite a lot, and you see people and hear people say, what's the point of it? It's just more of the same. It's the system, and the system's no different. All of these comments, and then you have people who say, well, it's just riding the ride, but at a first level all the way around. All of those things are actually wrong in my view, and I'll explain to you why. First thing is, if you go to the examiner's rubric for the test, and if you look at the Advanced Rider's Handbook or Course Book, it actually explains to you in there what a first is. The first is if you get commended a 1 in all areas. I think you can get 2s in 3 areas, not including sort of legality, and one of them would have to be eco-friendly, that wasn't a 1 as well. I'll clarify that afterwards, either up there or down there in the description. But what is a first? A first is systematically riding through the advanced test, applying IPSCA at all times. It's the systematic application of information, position, speed, gear, acceleration. The Masters is a completely different beast altogether, and unless you unpick your practice, or at least when you unpick your practice, you can see what that different beast is, and you can actually understand what the differences are. Now, some people will say what I'm saying in my head, yeah, but you haven't actually said anything yet. True. You could get a first riding the advanced test and not really making progress because overtakes weren't on and you were held behind traffic. This is just one example. Masters, that's just never going to happen. You are always going to be able to make that progress. And when you're riding for 90 minutes, which is quite a long time riding at Masters level and making the progress, I'm looking for that overtake. I'm not hunting it, I'm not going, but I'm looking for it. I'm not going, it's the twisties, it's double white line, so let's just pull back and let's give sort of 3 seconds and sit there for 3 seconds. It is, yeah, okay, the double white lines, but what's around that next corner? Does it open up? Does it give me that 200 metre gap? And the Masters is the ability to be in tune with your riding so that when you're presented, I was going to say confronted, but presented with a potential overtake, then, as I say in my article, as my mentor said to me, and it just clicks there, it's a binary decision. Is it on or not? Now, when I was riding at advanced level, and for my advanced test, I was approaching an overtake, and I was looking and I was thinking, yeah, that's on, and then I was looking again and more rear view, look, yeah, okay, and going. With Masters, I'm coming to it, yeah, it's on. And it's not about being quick, just obviously the pace is faster. It's not about making those decisions any faster. It's about having the power of conviction of that decision. When I was at Advanced, it's not knowing whether I could overtake in a situation. So you look ahead of me now at where the bend is and that limit point. What's coming around that corner? I don't know. Turning and looking in the opposite direction. What does that tell you? Well, that tells you that there's a double white line coming into play. After these two arrows, which were for the oncoming vehicles, you've got arrows for me to go over. So I know that after that point, that vision is going to go down and it's going to be illegal for me to be on the opposite side of the road. But I know that there's time for me to look. There's a bend there, it's telling you to reduce speed now, it's saying it's a sharp right, and around the corner there are chevrons. So in that situation, if there was a tractor coming down the road now, at what point would you think it is safe to overtake or not to overtake? Now, I can't say because I am not behind it at this point in time. You can't say because the camera angles deflate and increase things. But what I did during the 11 months of my Masters training is thought about those situations and acted them through. Some of those overtakes I took, and I can assure you I've never, in that training, I never did take an overtake that wasn't on. Other ones, I just thought it through. So I was in the situation behind it and I was thinking, okay, yeah, I'm going to go. But I didn't. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and counted through to when I thought I would be coming back in or when the situation changed so that it wasn't safe. I then came back to the same situation where and there were no cars there, but I remembered exactly where it was because I'd set it up. I practiced, right, it's on. I knew how fast that vehicle was going, or I thought I knew how fast that vehicle was going, and I put myself at 30 miles an hour and went past and accelerated up to the maximum speed and came in. Yeah, I had loads of space, I could do it quite easily. Then did it at 40 miles an hour and then did it at 50 miles an hour. And I built up that kind of knowledge of how much safety bubble I actually had. Let's go out and have a little talk through some sort of positions and overtakes, things like that maybe. What else did I do? I did the same sort of thing with emergency stops. Look at this corner coming up ahead. It's a left-hand corner. I put myself into position. I'm coming around. What if at that limit point, you can see there, now there was something in the road? Could I actually come to a stop at the speed I'm going at? So, what I would do, there's a car coming in for the left here, if that pulled out, could I get past? I stop at that distance, that limit point, something happened, something jumped out, a stag jumped out. It's happened to me on Long Hill once. How do you know you can actually make that stop? So, the only way you're going to know is by practicing, going out and looking and practicing. So, we've all done this. Come along. 50 mile an hour on a 50 mile an hour road. It's all clear behind. There you go, it's got to be a little bit straight, and do an emergency stop. I won't stop completely. How much distance did that take me? How much space do I actually need? And I realised I didn't know. So when, I thought I knew, and I remember after my advanced test, like the examiner, one of the things he just went through, and he said, there's things I've got to ask. So for example, in my mind, could you stop the distance you see to be clear on your side of the road? Yes, you could. It was a good ride. You made good progress, but you showed restraint. All of those things. How did he know? And I didn't ask him that at that point, but I did think it. Not very long, and it wasn't a thought that I kept, but I came back to that thought when I was doing my Masters. So like now, I'm 44 miles an hour, and going banking round on the right. How much distance do I need in order to stop? Do you know? Like seriously? Like, do you really know? I think a lot of people don't. And I was surprised, really surprised, at how I could stop incredibly quickly. I was going to do one then, but there's somebody at the bus stop. That would upset them somewhat. Right. So you're going along, and the point is, you never know when you're going to have to do it. So you're looking for signs about when. So off. Yeah, that wasn't as aggressive as it could be, but got an idea there. How do I know? Well, you could measure the number of lines. Look at the lines there. 1, 2, yeah, 2 lines from 45. So I could then go home and look at how long the white lines are, and I did all of this, and how long the gap is, and you can get a good estimate of how much distance it actually takes. Now the bottom line is, I was surprised that I could stop much faster than I thought I would. So that was good. I was giving myself a bigger safety bubble than I wasn't riding to the edge. I honestly thought that I was riding at a limit that I could ride, and there were things that told me that wasn't true. And I'm not aiming for sort of having no tread on the side of my tyres, but there are things when you look at your tyres and you look at somebody else with the same bike, same tyres, and theirs are worn down a lot more, you think, oh, okay. They've obviously lent that bike more, therefore it is possible to lead it more. So there were situations previously where I've been going around a bend and thought I was at my limit of lean. Clearly I wasn't. So this, for example, I'm looking at the lorry. I know there's nothing coming past. and spot on 60 miles an hour. Whereas when I was an advanced, I might have started looking for that overtake once the lorry had gone past. Now, some would say, what have you achieved by that? Well, what haven't I achieved? I haven't lost anything, have I? But I'm past that vehicle, and if there were 10 vehicles along here and I did that 10 times, I would be making more progress. I'd get to where I wanted to faster, but that's not the point I'm going to make. The key thing is that I'm now ahead of that hazard. So, what do I mean by that hazard? Well, everything in front of you is a hazard. What could fall off? What could fall off the back of that vehicle? Any vehicle. I've been behind a car when someone's throwing out a paper bag, and that paper bag very nearly, anything coming, no, that paper bag very nearly went over my helmet. Ooh, that's a hazard. If I'd overtaken that car prior to that, would have even known they'd littered in the countryside. So, I see getting past every vehicle, if it is safe and if it is legal, to have an element of advantage, and that I would achieve something. If I'm in a situation where I think an overtake is dangerous in any way, well, there's an element of risk, just 1% element of risk, I won't take it. I won't take that overtake, I won't take that risk. So, some of the beautiful Peak District scenery. Some nice views. Now, that's a point about riding at Masters level in weather like this. Well, it's dry. It's, what is it at the moment? 0.5. So it's flashing 0.5. There's a lot of dry patches of road. There's some wet, damp patches of road. So you're not going to necessarily be positioning in the textbook way. I'm training myself not to say P1, P2 or P3 anymore, because it's offside. Or the centre of the road. So positioning off towards the centre of the road, positioning yourself offside. And for a right hand bend, or the left. But you're not going to sacrifice your safety or stability for that. You're going out there for a view, well, you only want that view if it's safe to do so and it's stable. Now when you've got double bends and cows, you know it's something you need to be careful about. All the mud on the road is one thing round here, but when you get cow pats, it's even worse. And salt. Okay, so the weather, and yet you can see that I'm up to 60 now because it's absolutely nice and straight and it's clear, but I'm dropping it down now more than I would do if it was lovely and dry and the grip was 100%. What you would find on an advanced test, for example, or what I did, sorry, I'm not talking as an examiner, what I did as an advanced rider is when it was poor weather conditions in terms of temperature and also road surface in places, I would ride the whole ride in that sort of reduced, less progress. But here, again, we did 60, absolutely lovely. Got crossroads up ahead, so I'm looking left and right, there's nothing approaching, nothing anywhere. There's a car coming towards me now, so I am going to just go off the throttle a little bit, because it does look like it gets a bit bumpier, and there's splash and potholes for the cars that they might avoid. I'm still making progress, whereas at advanced level you might not, you wouldn't have to make as much progress. How many times have I said that word, the P word? No, it's not all about progress, it is about safety, but you're a master and you're not being tested to see if you're a master. You have to ride as a master. You have that confidence that you are a master, you're riding as a master, and you're just going out for a ride with a mate, and you make that progress in the same way that you would if you were already a master. And it's in the mind, it's a mindset. So on the button, 60 miles an hour. You look at the sat nav, yeah, it's 57, but that always lags. I go by my bike. So a situation like this is whether you can still ride at a Masters as a master, and what you find is that when you have that way of riding, that's the way you ride. When you go through into the 30s, like that, you need to be doing 30. You do 30 on the dot and you carry that 30 through. It is important from the legal side, and in the same way as it is on the advanced test. Right van behind me, nothing else to trouble with. I'm looking at what's ahead of the road. You've got some mud in the road, there's a left hand bend coming up, just a sharp left, you've got a warning triangle. So I'm looking to get over to the right, but I'm not going to cut across yet. There's the van, now I can shoulder, cut across, move down, apply the brakes, select a responsive gear, and around with a positive throttle, and we're still doing 55 miles an hour there. Don't need to do much on this one. You can see the left hand bend, and you've got a junction on the right on the edge of it. Is the car going to come out? Is the car going to come around the corner? So I'm not off much more than I was before. And then as it straightens up, back up, nicely up to 60. And I can see two cars up ahead, which I'm thinking they're going to pose a hazard to me in the not distant future. Position till you find them come. Rolling, get that speed right. I'm looking at that limit point. Where am I looking? I'm looking right far ahead. Right at that limit point. Move your head, look around, look around, look around, look around. It's running away. I open the throttle. It's coming towards me. Close that throttle off. No different than the Advanced, but you use it to a much higher level. Houses on the left, what's happening there? So I'm going out to the right. There is a road, it's absolutely clear. Some people would slow right down. What's the point? Keep on that at 30, at 60. Do a check move. Avoid the black stuff. Have they just put that down? Is it wet? Does it sag a bit? Maintaining 60. Looking ahead. Wait right oncoming. Now both of these cars are actually going at about 60 miles an hour. So, do you just sit back? Well, the answer to that is, yeah, they're both going 60 miles an hour. But what are they going to do when they come down to bends? And is it safer for me to be ahead of them after those bends than behind them? Now I would argue it is always safer to be ahead of a vehicle than to be behind it. The only exception is if that driver or rider doesn't have the ability to stop and you're in a traffic queue, and that's why I advocate filtering as much as you possibly can at the start of traffic queues, and where it's safe, where it's legal, you're always going to achieve something by moving ahead of standing stationary traffic. Now this is 30 still. We'll just see whether they stay at 30. If they don't stay at 30, then we've got the perfect opportunity to overtake. I mean, if they do stay. If they don't, then obviously it's harder. That's on past one of them. Stay out for a little bit, make sure I've got the safety bubble to come back in, and so going to the offside for the left. Thank you very much. But I'll be looking, is it clear? I wanted to overtake. At the moment I've got a 12 mile an hour gap, but when they brake I've got more. Now I wasn't going to overtake then because I would have gone over 60 to get past them, because they were overtaking, they were speeding as well. Not speeding, accelerating. But it is a matter about looking and seeing whether you can take that overtake and not just holding back. The examiner, the ASDM on a Masters will be following you and thinking, okay, they're having a look. Okay, 50 limit, doing 40. Stop sign. I'm going to go straight over here. go because I held back a bit just to give them their view. Remember, it's a 50 here, then into a 60, so I had to just hold it back a little bit, just for a second, then you could increase. Is that grey van going to come out? It's got lights on, the brake lights, holding out, telegraph pole, can we see? All of those things going through your mind, and when you're following someone who's at a master's level, you can see it's going through their mind by the positioning of their bike, by the movement of their head. So the white van, brow of a hill, take the centre line, car pulling out on the right. Have they seen me? Yes, they have. 45, got the position, just roll on. No need for excessive acceleration while they've gone over the speed limit. That just sits there at 60 miles an hour, it's nice. Crossroads, off a little bit, have a look on. So, you might still be looking, thinking, all the words that are coming out of his mouth are all things that I say, and I'm thinking, with my associate, for example, if you're an observer, or if you're an associate, it's what my observer's saying to you. There's nothing different. Well, there isn't. When you're looking for all that information, the information's always going to be the same. What is different is that when I go through on those 30s, for example, I'm spot on the 30s every single time, without doubt. Positioning, I've always got the right position. Now, reality, have I always? Of course not. I did on my test, thankfully. If I hadn't, I wouldn't have got waddles through everything. But there were lots of times where there's loads of technical junctions, technical things where you've actually got to just hold back, get your position right, and then go through. And give space, enough space so that, yeah, okay, just for your following, but also space so that you can make decisions about what to do and how to do it. Rather than having those decisions made for you. There's nothing worse when you're following a bike, you're observing someone, or you're just out with mates, or you're riding by yourself and you do it, and you're in a situation where you come up to a junction and you're just a little bit close to that parked car, and you realise that the road is blocked ahead, where you want to turn left and that car wants to turn left. But if you'd been 50 centimetres back on this hill, and there's no way you're paddling this bike back because it's a steep hill, if you'd been 50 centimetres back, you could have just nicely gone round that waiting vehicle, stationary vehicle, and made progress by filtering along the traffic. So that car's a perfect example. If I was on test, I would have been past that car, I think. I was just talking as we were coming out of that town. However, he is motoring in places. You can see the movement of the car. You might not be able to see my speedometer, but you can see him moving. Let's see what he does on this. He's got a warning sign for bends, as he's seen them, and also what's he going to do about it in terms of slowing down. So what's he down to? 45. Might be opportunity. I just get the feel that you're not, but I'm still going to look. I'm not going to hunt, but I'm going to look. Situations like this, you see, where you've got a series of bends going round. I've got a good view ahead of him. I'm still 1-2 seconds behind there, but if it opens up, now it's not likely to now because there's more built up areas. Now we're coming down to, let's take the Stoke Road here. Oh, he's taking the Stoke Road as well. So it's still right, it's all the way, but I'm coming into position. There's no turning there. Yeah, it's good to go fast. And although I'm coming into a 30, I'm still doing 60 now. Now I'll come down to 30. Spot on 30, and there's a 4-second gap behind me. So some would argue, what's the point of overtaking when you can see the 30s ahead? Well, I did overtake. I'm ahead of that. I can make more progress if it becomes congested. And look at my view. Absolutely nothing to hold me back. Whereas if I was behind that, well, I'll be behind it. Nicely round. Why do you go to the left then? Well, it's quite obvious, isn't it? Park car on a bend. If somebody was coming around here at 40, it's a 30-mile-an-hour limit that people do speed. So, what they're saying about the Masters then, it's a binary decisions about overtaking, making progress when you can make progress up to the posted limit, critically knowing the distance you need to stop on your side of the road, not learning stopping distances, but learning what it looks like. Okay, and the only way of doing that is practice.